Okay, so you're standing in front of an audience. You're about to give your speech. But all of a sudden, you start sweating profusely. Your hands are shaking, and not a word is coming out of your mouth. It's happening. Well, friend, you're having a memory blank. Fear not. Help is on the way. Hi, this is Marie Jose from Powerful Communication, and today we're going to overcome the fear of having memory blanks. I'm going to give you 3 tips plus 1 bonus tip at the end, so please stick around. First, let's start by talking about the script. Should we write a script or not? Well, it depends at what level you're at in your public speaking life. If you're a beginner, it probably is a good idea to write a script because it will help you organize your thoughts and ideas. If you can, use a guideline or a mind map that will tell you in which direction you're going. Some of the arguments against writing a whole script is that it's a recipe for disaster. You see, if you're a nervous person, if you don't like public speaking in the first place, and you memorize your speech perfectly, and then you feel nervous, well, you're bound to have memory blanks. I know, because it happened to me several years ago. I took part in a speech contest, and the morning of that speech contest, I had received a phone call from my family, and I received some bad news. And I went to my speech contest with that in mind. When it was time for me to speak, I was ready. I knew my speech from the first word to the last word. But all of a sudden, during the middle of my speech, nothing came out. It was a blank. I didn't know what to do for several seconds. I was just standing there. I even started giggling stupidly. I felt horrible. But I eventually got out of it, and I will tell you how at the end. So what do? Do you keep the script or not? Well, let's look at the first option. Let's say you need to write a script. What can you do not to have a memory blank? Well, you can use this method where you cut your speech in small chunks and you associate mental images to it. It's called the loci method. It is also called the memory palace method or technique. So it is just like I said, you associate items with parts of your speech and mental images, for example. And I've tried it. It's effective. I once memorized in about a minute a list of 20 items. Okay, I was grocery shopping, but when I practiced it, after writing down the list, I decided to, for example, all the places in my apartments, loci means place, so I put each item on my grocery list in a different room. The oranges in the entrance, for example, the toothpaste in the bathtub. You know, it has to be funny. The crazier the idea or the mental image is, the better it is. I have 2 links in the description box below. The first link is about what this method is about, and the second one will tell you how you can use it when you need to memorize something. And remember, it's not just for memorizing things like when you're giving a speech, for example, but it's good for anything you do in life. It can improve your memory. It can even prevent you from having dementia later on in life. So I think it's worth trying. The second tip is not very sexy. It's rehearsing. I know I said it before, but it's effective. Remember, Napoleon Hill says that if you want to be an expert achiever in anything that you do, you need to do 3 things. The first one is practice. The second one is practice. And the third one is, you guessed it, practice even more. So don't skip that part. Also, practicing will give you confidence. There's one thing that we need to know. Giving a speech is spoken. It's oral. It's an oral action. When you write an article, for example, for an audience of readers, you can write difficult expressions, beautiful vocabulary, even if you need to, technical terms, because that way the reader will be able to look up the expressions in the dictionary. But when you're giving a speech, there's no time. You're not going to stop for your audience for them to look up the words in the dictionary, right? So you want to use simple words and expressions for your audience to follow you. It will also help you memorize your speech a lot faster. When you practice, it's a good idea to practice in front of the mirror. Several years ago, I was operated on this side of my jaw, and the doctor cut into my nerve, which means that even now I don't have full sensation anymore. So it's still tingling, which means when I give a speech, I tend to overcompensate on the other side of my mouth. It looks horrible. Sometimes when I look at myself in the mirror, it feels like I'm making funny faces. But looking at myself in the mirror has helped me. I can't say 100%, but it has helped me improve that problem. Also, what you can do is practice part of your speech in front of an audience you feel comfortable with. For example, your friends, your family. Ask them to give you some feedback so that they can help you improve your text. It doesn't have to be the whole speech, just the parts where you're having difficulty with. They can give you some pointers on how you can improve. Another good thing you can do when you practice is use a recording device like a smartphone. As much as you can, leave the recording device as far away from you so that you have to force yourself to speak loudly and to project your voice. So if you don't practice how to project your voice, when you give your presentation, you will be speaking to the first or second rows only. But you want to be able to speak to the whole audience up to the last row. You want to accommodate all your audience. The third tip is my favorite one. It's using bullet points or cue cards. I love the cue cards because I participate in speech contests. Having bullet points is not an option. I know that holding cards in your hands could be a little bit of a crutch, but when I practice enough, I don't really need to look at my cards. So when I write my speech, because it helps me organize my ideas, and because I can correct my speech from one day to another, especially if I have enough time. So after writing and correcting my speech, when I feel comfortable with it, when I'm satisfied with it, I set it aside. That's when I start using my cue cards. The cue cards are there to remind me of the main points, which means that I never have to memorize anything from the speech. I paraphrase each idea. I start from the introduction, the body with 2 or 3 ideas, and 2 or 3 sub-ideas, and finally with the conclusion. If writing the main ideas of your speech is something difficult, you can go online and ask ChatGPT to do it for you. It's a time saver. It's very good. But if you can, for good practice, try and do it by yourself. After practicing a few times like this, the content of my speech will have changed considerably, but not the meaning, not the ideas. And this is where the confidence comes from. And from one time to another, you auto-correct yourself naturally, and you start using vocabulary that you are comfortable with. And that's when you have a great speech. And after practicing a few times, I'm pretty sure, like me, you will start enjoying the process. I can't say that I'm 100% comfortable in front of an audience, that I like giving speeches, but I do enjoy the process because now I don't have to worry about having those memory blanks. Now for the bonus, point 4. Some of you might say, yeah, Marie, I've tried everything you've said, good ideas, but I still have memory blanks. So what do I do? Well, remember what I told you? I panicked. I started giggling stupidly. If you can, stay calm. Take a deep breath and keep on talking. As much as possible, remain in the frame of your speech. If you need to, go back a few lines and repeat them. Some people in the audience may realize what's happening, but I can assure you, most of the people in the audience won't know what is happening. And just like it happened to me, you will get back in script very naturally. In my case, I could not interact with the audience because it was a speech contest, but in other situations, like giving a speech for your colleagues, for example, or at a community center, you may be able to ask questions to your audience. You can ask them if they understood what they said, if they have any questions so far. And if you have one person who says, yes, I've got a question, just know that they've been listening to what you were saying and that they're interested in what you have to say. This will give you a good boost and will help you get back into your script very quickly. So finally, what you need to do if you want to avoid having memory blanks is to organize your speech, your ideas as logically as possible. If you must write a script, try and use the loci method. And if you prefer not writing a script, you can use the bullet points or the cue cards and then enjoy the process. And again, if you're still facing a memory blank, just keep talking and you'll do a great job. And if you follow those tips, you're on your way to becoming a great public speaker. Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving it a like or even subscribing to my channel. It would really mean a lot. If you can, share it with other people that you think might benefit from this. In the meantime, please leave a comment below. Tell me if you've ever had such an experience. If you did, how did you get out of it? I'm really interested in that. Also, please tell me what other fears you'd like me to talk about in the future. In the meantime, please check my next video, which will be about the fear of being rejected. And if you hadn't had the chance to watch my first video, it's about the fear of being judged. The links are somewhere over there. See you in the next video.